How many of you like squirrels? Squirrels? Anybody? Squirrels? Well, we have the creator team, Mark Rober here, and Crunchlabs talking about a day in the life. I'm sitting for like 2 minutes and I'm going to go out and run around with this mic and do an AMA. I want you all to ask anything of these guys. If, it's not something that they want to answer, they'll let me know. If you start talking about your grandmother's squirrel problem, I will take the mic away. Beyond that, be respectful and we'll have some fun. Let me introduce these guys. All the way down there on the left is, Pojo Riegert, creative lead at Mark Rober. In the middle, Jon Marcu, who is head of creative development at Crunchlabs, and Luke Hale, head of media, Mark Rober YouTube. It may sound like they work for all different companies, but it's kind of all the same, right? All right. So real quickly, each of you talk about what you do and what your day is like. And I want to start with you, Luke.
Head of media. What does that person do? I have no idea. It's been a little bit different. I've been with Mark for a while, not as long as Marcu, but it's a great place to be. Media is media performance. So, thinking about YouTube and the YouTube algorithm, Alex, stand up and wave. Everybody, this is Alex. He runs our thumbnail program. He does titles. He tests everything for us to make sure it's going to perform well. And then we go make crazy stuff. So, that's part of it. And then figuring out where our sponsors, are going to integrate into our media, make sure that we have great relationships with them. And then localization and distribution, across other socials and of course on YouTube.
Cool. Jon, you are head of creative development. Talk about what you do and what your day is like.
Sure. It's part operations, part creative. So we make everything. I mean, we have so many in-house teams that, spanning from production to prop making to engineering, editing, post, all our toy designers are in-house. So it's building those teams to keep operations flowing so we can make our, 500 plus pieces of content a year. And then on each project basis, usually on the big Mark Rober projects, the main channel videos, we come up with when we have a cool idea, the feasibility and research phase, I'm leading that a lot where it's like, oh, what birds are we going to use? How do we get into Disneyland underneath their nose? How do we, do all this stuff? And then guiding the production teams and the engineering and all those teams to pull it off.
Sounds like a lot of operations coordination and, I guess project management and then secret stuff.
And nothing gets blown up without a safety talk, right, Marcu?
Nothing gets blown up at all because of Marcu.
Okay. Cool. Awesome.
I mean, sometimes.
So Pojo, talk about what you do, what your day is like.
Yeah. So, I was, creative, born and bred in social media, from my beginning of my career onwards and, met Mark through those connections and got pulled over actually beginning of this year. So I'm like the youngest out of the Mark family. But basically what ends up happening is actually counter to a lot of, social channels, which is concept, thumbnail, title, how do you package it? And if it's clickable, then you're going to make that video. It's almost kind of inverted where Marcu and Mark and myself and a couple other creative, heads, will come up with a really cool build or really cool idea. And then it lands to, Luke, myself and Alex at how we package it. So it's a little bit inverted, but it works in our instance because we have to do so much pre-development in making these things happen, which a lot of that lands on, Marcu's shoulders. So for me, I'm the creative packaging and story writing. Like Mark likes to say, we like to hide the vegetables of our education, and my job is to hide them very well so the kids have a great time and don't even realize they learned a bunch about physics and engineering.
So he's Marcu, right? So
yes.
You call him that because there's Mark and then there's Marcu.
Yeah.
Whatever. You don't have to explain it. I just want to make sure I know.
Well, Marcu,
everybody calls me Marcu.
Yeah, Marcu is a little cooler than Jon.
Unless you're on the East Coast, then Marcu is my sister.
Okay. Do we have a question for any of these fine creative types? Oh, come on. Someone's got a question. You're at an AMA.
All right. Excellent. Thank you. That was great.
Hi. Nice to meet all of you. My little company is exactly what Crunchlabs does, but from pre-K to sixth grade. Like you're just saying. So we've actually been next to each other at STA. My question is, do you sometimes find yourself trying to put content for on social media or on YouTube versus the educational part, and trying to get those views? Do you kind of I know you said hide the vegetables, like, we also try to do for entertainment, but is there some times where you just have to dive into that part of the educational stuff and not try to go for the clicks?
Totally. I think ultimately when it comes to hiding the vegetables, Mark's main mission and the entire company's main mission is to touch as many minds as possible while we're here on this spinning oblate spheroid. What is an oblate spheroid? Basically, the idea is touch as many minds as possible. And the best way you do that is by getting as many clicks and then still have nuggets of wisdom within it. And so sometimes the concept is super, super dense. Like we did a satellite video that reached less people than we were initially anticipating. When you look back at it, it's because it's incredibly dense with engineering and science, which is amazing. But it wasn't packaged quite well enough, or the story wasn't told quite well enough in order to reach that as many people. So there is a little bit of a trade-off, especially in the social economy, of getting people's attention and then utilizing it in a way that elevates them and their experience on the platform. But that's my answer. What about you guys?
Contrary to popular belief, YouTube is a wonderful place to hide your video content. You can upload it and absolutely no one will ever see it. And so that's a tragedy, right? Especially when you have something incredible to promote like STEM. So we spend a ton of time thinking about how do we get people to engage with these ideas. And Mark is an entertainer. I think he should be applauded for having adapted over the years. He's been doing this for a long time. This content is still relevant. And I think part of that is he's really built the company around this DNA of testing everything. So we will run something several times. And if we don't see measurable impact from whatever that test is, then, it'll be discontinued.
That's pretty much just stayed over there.
So quick question in terms of your packaging. So package a great idea. You implement that into the world. Hello. Okay. And in the world of YouTube's, at what point, if it doesn't right away, at what point do you guys just say, okay, we need to quickly change that while we still have some thumbnail title, yada, yada?
Yeah, it's never too late to change your packaging. And that's the wonderful thing about YouTube is you can, rotate in a new title, new thumbnail. And, unfortunately, once you hit publish on that video, it's kind of locked. You're limited to what you can do in the YouTube editor. But sometimes removing a lower engaging portion of your video can be really beneficial. But we pivot often. Do we pivot early though? Usually not. Usually we'll let it ride for a week or two before we make any kind of real drastic pivot. That's aside from our initial A/B testing, which we always launch with multiple thumbnails to make sure we take advantage of whatever is our most impactful thumbnail.
I think it's also one of some people's one of my early misconceptions publishing stuff on YouTube is you publish the video and then that's it. It's out there and it'll do whatever it does. Far from it. That is an active asset that you are managing for its entire lifetime. And so there's a lot of flexibility in it.
Cool. I've got a question way in the back right here. Go ahead.
Hey, there's a lot of talk about AI softwares to make lives easier. Which AI softwares do you guys use in your day-to-day?
AI is really interesting because there's a kind of a face on a lot of the large language models, and then there's a lot of tools built on those. And there's a lot of work that we have to do as creatives, especially as we want to scale to multiple social platforms and we want to, be in every language. And it can be difficult to figure out which tools to use and the underlying tech below them. And we are doing everything that we can to keep up with the innovation. But honestly, it's like you evaluate one AI tool and then the next week it seems like you're evaluating another one. So it's just moving really fast. I would ask an expert, which is not me. Even though I try to be I think we're all trying to keep up and we recognize the opportunity, but the tools are awesome and we are using them strategically in places where they're beneficial, but not so much in Marcu's world where he's executing real experiments. And that's kind of our core DNA. We're thinking about it more on how do we rapidly prototype tests and find out which ideas are going to be viral. And then we go and we do things IRL.
There's a little bit of, in my world, some pre-visualization. So, image generation and stuff, a little bit. And then honestly, note takers, you look at our calendars and it's sometimes we're in 3 meetings at a time. And, so we can send our note takers to those meetings and then we get a transcript that it has condensed for us. that we can just go and read and catch up on that meeting without having to be there. And we can always go back and have a log of it, of what was talked about. So that's been very, very helpful. And yeah, and then I'm always just testing out different little things. Eventually, being able to like train our own model to storyboard would be amazing. We're getting there.
Alex will have it done before he gets home, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then on my end, it's funny enough, especially the scripting phase, I feel like Mark and I can get so into the weeds of something's extremely technical, and we build out a technical explanation that feels as though it's still not quite approachable enough. And so then we'll, after, R&Ding it for a while, maybe go 4 different options, put it into a large language model, then ask it to explain to 3 different levels of education: 8th grade, 6th grade, 5th grade, 4th grade, and then just basically see how it basically breaks it down and simplifies more complex tasks and understandings. And then we'll probably take out the little bits of gold from all of that and build it into a better explanation. Because ultimately we're trying to get that a powerful, like, aha moment, Mark likes to call it, where you go, oh, I've never even thought about it until this moment. That kind of thought. I'm going to get there as fast as possible. Keep retention.
Which model are you using?
Great question.
Gemini.
Okay, cool. By the way, all of you want to know about AI. 4:00. We're done here at what, like 3:15 or something like that. 4:00, we have a session on AI with some amazing AI experts. And so I encourage you to come for that. And we have a question right here.
Is Mark now banned from Disneyland after imaging Space Mountain?
We have not attempted to go back, but we have not heard anything from them either. So I think we're good.
We have lots of good friends at Disney, and they haven't said anything to our faces. So,
how do you sneak into Disneyland? You don't have to answer that.
We didn't sneak people into. We just brought some gear in.
Yeah, you buy a ticket and you sneak in. Yeah, that's great. Right through security. You just walk right in with a ticket.
Wow, tickets. They're like magic. We have here.
So I kind of grew up watching a lot of the channel, but I feel like as I've now entered college, I've kind of aged out of some of the core concepts. How do you deal with some of those demographic shifts as people age out of some of your content?
We have a new audience coming up that is absorbing a lot of that media, but more than that, we've started the Crunchlabs channel to identify that or address that as well. Crunchlabs is really targeted at a younger demo and getting kids interested in science, technology, and engineering. And then the Mark Rober content, we really feel like that is for the full family viewing. It can be difficult to continue to try and grow as rapidly as we have and keep that into consideration. We want to make content that you absolutely love, like it's a goal of ours. So, if we ever fail to do that, we feel sad about it. But you're absolutely in the demo that we are actively targeting to make great content for on the Mark Rober YouTube channel.
100%. And just to echo what Luke was saying there, especially when I first got joined in, one of the first things that Mark approached to me about was the idea of this lingering feeling of the old brand of Mark Rober and the new brand of Mark Rober, and how people can kind of get lost in the in-between. But it's a thing that we're actively trying to address both in scripting and in packaging, where you have videos similar to, and this is kind of goes back to what you were asking about the clicks versus educational content. There were like videos like Acid versus Lava, incredibly clickable. The thumbnail was very poppy, very beastified to a certain extent. And it got amazing traction. But again, it didn't quite lead into Mark's traditional, like, here's a problem, here's an invention, let's build it and make it really cool. That initially brought him the eyes. But as we continue to grow, we're always looking at ways to maximize both sides and find that, like, perfect marriage.
A question right here.
Hey guys, I'm sure you guys have a board somewhere with like hundreds of video topic ideas. Can you speak to how you go from ideation to, we have a high degree of confidence in this video idea, we're going to greenlight it?
Well, at least on this end, it's interesting because for a long time, it was a bunch of incredibly intelligent people with very fancy degrees and also just a lot of experience throwing every cool science and technology thing that they can in these big brainstorming sessions. And then it was kind of filtered down to like Marcu, and whose name is Jon as well, and Mark, and then our creative director, Addie, to kind of like decide which of it like they're going to go with. Specifically Mark. Mark has that kind of key thing. And then when I got brought on, that was part of my job, was to partner with Mark, because we have like the ear for the social, and what we know will just make it like an amazing video. And it kind of comes down to being in the space for a long enough time and knowing your audience well enough to know what they're really going to resonate with, at least on my end.
Yeah, it's one of those things. The channel is still very much like the Mark Rober channel. It's still very much a personal channel for Mark. It's not, we're not going out running analytics on what topics are going to be popular in 6 months or anything like that. It is quite literally still like, what's Mark interested in right now? And that I think comes through in that he has genuine interest in it in the videos, that we have genuine interest in it while we're making it. So it very much is like, when we put our slate together, we keep a good, 12-month running slate of videos that we're at least researching. Mark's the final word on all that, and it's a personal decision for him.
And I will say sometimes Mark wants to make a video that we know is not going to perform well. And Alex and we lose sleep over it. And, we just think about how to package it. But like Mark is a very driven creative, and he has concepts he wants to execute, and he does those, and we all kind of support him in that.
And just a final little note on that. Ultimately, the team around Mark are probably the hardest critics of when it comes to concepts and story, and because we want to make the greatest thing possible. And so if Mark, as the leader of the channel and of the creative, his job is to not only tell us what his pulse is, but also get us excited about it as well. And if he can convince us and the team that it's an amazing, exciting concept, we know for a fact we can convince our audience of the same thing, for most of the time. And then other times it's up to Alex and Luke to figure it out.
All right. So I've got a question. Oh, sorry. Did you want to say something, Marco?
Nope.
Okay. All right. I got a question right here.
Hey guys, a quick question from my daughters, Lily and Noah, back at home in London, who are huge Mark Rober fans. Is there an amount of Elephant's toothpaste that is too much Elephant's toothpaste?
Lily and Noah, that would be no. There is not. I think we currently have the record for the highest elephant toothpaste. I think someone took us for quantity, but we still have highest, that was one of my favorite projects.
It's sort of like Elephant Mythbusters here, I guess, right? I think there's a question over here, right? Somebody had something? You did. Okay. Oh, both you guys did. All right. You first.
With all the pre-production you guys do you still have videos you have to scrap? Like, it's about to reach the top, just have to still scrap it?
Yes, there are. And some of them we fall in love with, and they get scrapped at different parts of the process. It's very common with our shorts, especially. We do one short a week that is original content that is a lot of production effort. It's very similar to what other large creators might do for a long form video. And, they often get scrapped just because they don't quite hit the threshold. And that's always sad when you get to the review stage and you send it to Mark and you want to publish it and he says it doesn't hit the mark. But I mean, the channel is kind of our sacred territory to put things out that we think the audience is really going to be delighted by, and we don't want to waste any of those opportunities. So I think that's part of the game.
Yeah, social in general is such an interesting field because on one hand you have social gurus saying don't be afraid to post stuff even if you don't think it's perfect. Then you have people at the top of the industry like Jimmy and Mark and other people that hold their quality such a high standard that, let's say, like we have in the past and Jimmy has in the past, scrap videos that they've invested a lot of money into. I used to work for a guy named Zach King, and about 18% of our videos that we ever made got scrapped eventually because visual effects is very expensive and sometimes it just doesn't work. And you have to find that balance point again of get something out, make something amazing, but also keep that level of quality that you are honoring your audience with.
So I have a question real quick, and then we're going to go to this gentleman right here. You're at NAB, which I love. Thank you so much for being here. I think we deserve a round of applause for them being here, right?
Thanks for having us.
What are you guys looking to get out of NAB? Because you're not just here to talk to us. You're out wandering the show looking for things. What are the things you're looking for?
Mostly connections with these people here. So look forward to meeting a lot of you. Those really help. I mean, I think industry connections are the biggest thing. There are a lot of cool tools. We're looking at a lot of stuff. And a lot of, it's a wonderful place to have everybody assembled. One of our localization vendors who we love, Ayuno, is here. So there's some faces in the audience here. To be able to consolidate a lot of those meetings into a single place is really helpful.
And someone you don't see is our head of camera and tech, who he's right there, Nate.
Hey.
So Nate is specifically going after a lot of very specific tech things that I don't really know about, but I'm happy to make the conversations happen.
What about you, Marcu? What brings you here?
I would say the connection side. It's really interesting with all these, the democratization of media creation with the internet and all that, that now these big channels and big names and groups and individuals that are having such a large impact on culture are being created in vacuums sometimes. And so just, being able to try to bridge that gap and start finding those people, that's primarily, to kind of share the wealth, share the resources, share the fun.
Getting out of your bubble too. Getting out of, question here.
I was wondering if you guys could describe what is your toolkit as it comes to working through the process, whether it's tracking the portfolio of assets or concept, storyboards. What are the tools that help bring sanity to the workload and the direction you guys are going?
I'll say this about tools. We use a lot of different tools, and all of us are going to have different answers. The one thing that has been nice, like I used to be a producer at Apple, and it was a wonderful big mega corporation, and onboarding a new tool took forever, and there was a ton of process evaluation. We're much more in the try it out and see if it works and consider it a test and then move on. So we try a lot of tools, and at different places in our stack across these different workflows, you're going to find all kinds of things. But I think the biggest luxury that we have is test frequently, and if it doesn't work, we just remove it from our workflows.
Cool. I've got another question here, and then I will.
So with your main, YouTube videos taking so much time and effort to produce, develop, do you see YouTube Shorts as more of a way to bring in new people to the channel, or just to retain, attention on your channel in general?
I think that's a good question.
Yeah, YouTube Shorts are an incredible tool, but it is often hard to know what to do with those viewers. We don't find that there's a ton of overlap between our Shorts viewers and our long viewers. But Shorts provide us a huge new audience to be engaging with. And so, we wish all of those people would come over and consume our long form content so that we could create a deeper relationship with them. And it's something we work really hard towards, but it's not a really easy thing to do naturally in the algorithm. So why do we do Shorts? Well, it is to make introductions to those people. And then Shorts are also another wonderful place for us to identify ad revenue, for potential sponsors. So often, we really want to focus on science and engineering in our main channel videos, and some of our sponsors, it just works out better to put them in Shorts content. So we want to make sure that we have a really robust Shorts program so that we can put some of that added inventory out there. So that's, there's a few reasons, but we love Shorts.
Yeah, we love Shorts. Another thing is kind of similar to the idea of these long form videos are huge concepts, a lot of time. But if there's still moments, especially with things that Mark gets really excited about, that cannot make a long video. You've seen a couple in the past of our brain teaser-esque videos where we tackle 7 things in a row. Basically, those are just ones that are slightly too long for Shorts, but all the ones that fall into that just right category, we still want to share. We still want to discover with people. Shorts is the perfect place for it. And again, it's going back to the touching as many minds as we can. And Shorts are a great place.
Cool. France, did you have a question? Wait, no, don't say it. Wait till I come up here with the mic.
That, Jim. So since you guys are all into creative, how do you start an idea? What's the process? I know Zach King does storyboards. How do you get in a room? Do you guys map it out?
So it all starts, with a huge brainstorm, pretty much company-wide brainstorm. So we bring in everyone, our product designers, our prop makers, everybody. We keep active channels, communication channels open where anybody can be posting ideas, our brainstorm channels. And then we all come together and just toss around ideas. And from that, some will bubble up. And then we go to a second smaller kind of brainstorm where it's Pojo, myself, Mark, Addie, and we pick what's going to go onto the slate we have our slate of what we're going to publish. From that, then we go into, feasibility and research. So we have an idea. sneaking into Disney to do the LiDAR thing. That idea came because it was an idea Mark had, and we were like, okay, cool. That was actually originally going to be a short, because it was too small to be a full video. And so we started producing it as a short. It was okay, feasibility. I physically went down to Disneyland and I tried to sneak a bunch of stuff in and like ride the ride and see what happened and record the security process and everything. And then we're like, hey, this is actually doable. Cool. Let's plan a shoot around it. This is worth, spending mark time on, which our most valuable asset right now is mark time. And we planned to shoot around it, went down, did it. And then in that whole process, we were like, wait, this is amazing. Let's scan the rest of the park. Wait, this is growing. This is turning into a full video. What other things can we do with LiDAR? Another small thing on that idea board was Wile E. Coyote at Tesla. And we're like, oh, wait, this is perfect. Like, these go together. And then it became that video. And then we produced those shoots and it all just kind of organically, but it's very much that, like, we start with crazy idea, a whole list of crazy ideas. We select some that we think are going to be good and we research them to see if they're possible and what the story is going to be, before we start making them.
Yeah. And then that last little bit, Mark is an incredible storyteller, like genuinely, and he did it alone for most of his career. And so ultimately it does go into that giant sheet of ideas. And then it leads into, all right, so how can we tell a compelling story that will keep everyone throughout the entire process? And it's the idea of curiosity loops and how do you bring an audience in to an idea, get them curious about it, leave it for a bit, introduce a new one. And then by the time you close the first one, a new one's opened. You continually cyclically that storyline, in a way that's super powerful. And that's what Mark is so good at.
I love the curiosity loop concept. That's awesome. We have another question right here. And I'm going to call you and you.
You have a strategy or a specific process to engage with comments?
Yeah, comments are, listen, when someone shows up to our video, we want to make sure that they have an incredible experience. We feel like that's our corner of YouTube to manage. And so we're really aggressive in identifying our own banned words list. So the trouble with our comments is there's a lot of them. So it's tough for us to keep up with everything going on. But you'll start to see patterns and things that people say that just, it's not appropriate for the conversation we're trying to facilitate on YouTube and the experience people are having with our video. So we very actively manage the banned words list in the channel settings. And we're also very active in translating that to make sure that it covers the languages that our content is available in. I think everybody who's running a YouTube channel should be thinking about that whole experience that people are having, and that absolutely involves the comments.
One more question over here.
So you talked about how you test the different ways that you package your stories. That sounds like a really valuable step in the process. How are you doing that before you publish? Are you guys hiring consumer panels? Is this something that's accessible to people who aren't at the top of the industry?
Alex, who's sitting right in front of you, could talk about this for 6 hours.
Is this Alex
so
right here?
Find Alex. Yeah, there you go.
Alex, how do you do it?
Well, it's complicated and it's always changing, to be quite honest with you, but we could have a conversation afterwards if you have a couple hours. No, but it's always changing. So identifying new ways to subconsciously test. Cut off. Sorry. Without them realizing what they're.
Cool. Not to put you on the spot. I was sitting behind you.
Yeah, we do a ton of testing on YouTube, but we also do off-platform testing. And then what we want to make sure is that testing correlates really well with the actual results that we're finding on the channel. So we have had instances in the last couple of years where the results didn't match, and then we've gone and we've updated our testing methodology. But we test a lot when it comes to packaging. And that is because Mark often has ideas that are really big, fun ideas, but that doesn't mean they're YouTube ideas. So we got to figure out a way to make them play.
I think though it's fair to say though to answer this question that it's nothing like it's no like proprietary tech or
no, it's
surveys
and it's analytics.
It's all homegrown stuff, just creatively utilizing social media and tools that are available to you to infer what people are going to respond to.
Yeah. And then even before that, in the actual story building phase, a lot of times Mark and I will run it by a lot of people in our like personal networks and just be like, hey, what do you think about this framework for this concept? And they'll be like, I don't know. I think you could maybe find something better. Even as simple as that, just like, litmus testing it across just a bunch of personal friends. And, but then it goes to the actual packaging. And that's where they come into play.
I love how he timed that out on the clock to 0:00. These guys are professionals. Please give it up. Pojo Riegert, Jon Marcu, Luke Hale, Mark Rober's team. I learned a ton. I hope you enjoyed it. At 4:00, we have a session about AI right here. It's going to be tons of great stuff on AI. Right, Renee, in the back? She's hosting me. We'll do a little AMA. So we'll see you back here at 4. There's so much more going on. And from 5 until 6, we've got another of our cocktail parties here sponsored by our friends at Opus. So we'll see it all there. So give it up to these guys. Thank you.